Hello. So I wanted to make a video about how I study because I don't know, sometimes I study a lot, sometimes I don't study a lot, but the time doesn't really matter. In the video, I'll talk about the technology I use to study, that being like hardware and software wise. I'll talk about the environment that I'm in, because that's really important too. And I'll talk about the actual method that I use to study and, give any extra tips. Often I see videos of people, I don't know, kind of like struggling when it comes to study. A lot of people say that nobody ever taught them how to study or this and that. So I thought it would be a good idea to, make a video about what I do, personally. So maybe this will help someone. Okay, so everything that you see here pretty much is what I use to study. So I have my own personal computer is right here on these two monitors. I have a laptop that is just for school. I have like an ergonomic mouse, so I don't know, it's pretty nice to study, I guess. I have a second phone. This, I just put a timer on, I'll explain that. I have a pen and a drawing tablet. This is what I used to take notes with. So I guess I'll show you what I have on all of these things that, kind of helps me. Okay, so on this phone, I think I talked about it in the last video, but I don't do too much on it. The main things that I use for studying are this app and a Pomodoro timer, which obviously it has one purpose, like I'm just using it as a timer. But I really like it. This one's really cute. It's called Pomocat, and there's a paid version, but if you're just using it for free, it does what you need it to. Like, it has a work timer and a break timer, and there's a cute little cat that works while you do, and I really like that. And then for that, audio wise, I have this on both my phones, but it's just an ambiance app.
Ambience. Ambience. Ambience.
And it's really nice. They have a bunch of free sounds. It's like 100% free. There's like an ad every once in a while, but never while you're in the middle of listening. It's always right before or after. So this app is amazing. I'm sorry, but it actually is. I've been using it for like a really long time. It's very nice. So that's what that phone is for. Okay, so on my personal computer, for school purposes, I'll usually use Firefox, and I also use Chrome. I'm thinking of going from Chrome to Edge, but for me, I guess because this is what I had to use in high school, it's a lot easier. So my Google Chrome, I just have a school account that is on here, and it's on here. My Firefox is not on here. For Firefox, usually, this is it. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm screen recording, so maybe I'll put it on the screen too, but I'll usually, on Firefox, I'll either use ChatGPT, I'll watch study with me YouTube videos, and I'll just put it up on the second monitor as something, I don't know, to look at, I guess. And yeah, I don't use Firefox for that much, to be honest. For Chrome though, I'll just go on my school website, do my homework, look at everything. I haven't done too much special with either of these, but I thought it was worth mentioning, I guess. But also, on this computer, I have Notion, and I really do like Notion. Because, okay, the Notion was like messed up, I don't know, but I also use Notion And Notion is really nice because, I guess because it syncs to the laptop as well. And yeah, I mean, I just did this myself quickly. I'll probably actually blow this up on the screen. But yeah, I just quickly threw something together, and you know, there's a calendar. I really love the Notion calendar because you can do, you know, have stuff like this, and it's really nice. It's better than a planner, I guess, in that you can just kind of put multiple things on a date without having to worry about if there's enough space or this and that. And you can add tags to things, like for your classes. And whenever I would have a planner, you know, I would either color code or I would have to write that, you know, I'd have to write this is for math, this is for biology, this and that. And so, I don't know, the Notion calendar is like really convenient for me personally. And dude, I don't know why like half of it won't load. That's kind of fucked up. But yeah, I don't know. I like my Notion now. I like what I've done with the place. But that's kind of all the technology that I really use study-wise. On my personal computer, I don't really do too much. I don't know. I try to keep it easy, keep it simple. But I guess I'll go into also what I have on my laptop here and the other phone and all that stuff. Right now for the laptop, in person whenever I would go on campus, and you know, this was my setup at school, and a lot of people would ask about this. This is just a drawing tablet. It was like 20 bucks or something, and dude, it's like hella nice. It's really good for, you know, especially if you don't want to buy a tablet to take notes with. Instead, you can just take some notes on a laptop instead. So you just kind of need one device for all your purposes, if I can plug this in. So yeah, it works how you would expect a drawing tablet to work, I guess. There's nothing too crazy special about it. I just kind of, you know, get in a comfortable position. Here's an example of some notes that I was taking recently. Actually, this is not recent. This is from my business class. But if I were to go... Oh, I should probably mention the app that I'm using. It's just some random app from, like, the Microsoft store. It's called... I don't even know. It's called Encodo. Oh, the name's in this right there. If you can see, if it'll focus. You see it? Encodo. That's the name of the app. So... yeah, if you feel like getting that, I feel like copying my setup here. But yeah, this app is amazing, by the way. You can have, okay, you can have like these different books, I guess, which I just have taken into subjects, and you can even have each different subject in a different category that you can make. So here's like last semester stuff, my philosophy class, my psychology class. And then I have some of this semester stuff. And I also even uploaded my entire math textbook onto here. And when you do that, you can just kind of mark up the textbook as needed if you would like to do something like that. Otherwise, I'll show you my biology notes. It just puts it basically into a folder of these pages, and you just take notes like normal on a piece of paper. So I just am using like lined paper, and I use this. So for example, if I were to go to like here, and you are able to just kind of make a new page like every time you click that. So you can just go there, and I'll show you. Yeah, I'll usually zoom in and write, and I'll just be like, and yeah, it's pretty easy, I guess. I really like having this. Definitely an alternative for people who cannot afford having a million different devices. I kind of just wanted to buy a laptop and be done. Maybe I'll buy a tablet eventually, but not now. This laptop is pretty much a notebook. And yeah, pretty much all I ever use on this laptop is this app these days. But of course, I also have Notion on here because it's easily synced up. And a lot of the times I'll put like resources or something into my subjects in Notion, and I'll just take it off of my computer when I'm like studying the textbook or something and put it in here, and then that way I can insert it into my notes here. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the technology that I would use to study. So I guess I'll talk about what the hell is going on around me and, you know, why I think that's important for studying. Okay, so people seem to usually have a lot to say about your environment when you study, and just kind of like, you know, where you're at, and I do think that that is important. What I don't like people saying is, like, for me, this desk space that I have here, I do play video games here, I'll watch TV here, I'll do things other than studying here, and a lot of times people will recommend you to have like a separate space rather than sit here and study, I guess, and also do other things. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you need to have somewhere where you're pretty comfortable working, and if you need to switch it up, but to me, saying that you need a separate space to sit and study, that just screams like a lack of discipline to me. You should be able to sit anywhere and study. I mean, even in your bed or something. Anywhere can be a good study space. It doesn't matter what you do there all the time. You should be able to lock in your bedroom, at the library, outside if you want to go outside, on the floor or something. Like, if you seriously are, you know, studying and you're kind of locked into it, you should be able to kind of go anywhere. But for me, here are some things that I have found help me in my personal environment to like kind of focus and study and everything. Okay, this is the first thing. Maybe it's kind of weird, but I usually like a really nice smelling area. So and yes, I consider this definitely optimal for my studying, bro. This matters for studying, not just everyday life. But I have a couple candles in my room, and I invested in a candle warmer. Best purchase I've ever made was getting a candle warmer. You waste a lot less money buying new candles. So, I guess what I would say is, make sure that your space smells good, you know? Sometimes it can be nice to just, you know, you're studying or whatever, and then you think for a second, you're like, wow, it actually smells pretty nice in here, so I would recommend. Maybe it sounds stupid, but this another helps. Thing that I think I'll circle back to on the technology side would be audio. I really do think that certain sounds can help you focus better. Me personally, I just like ambient noises, so again, like I mentioned, I have on my phones. I also have another app on my computer. Literally, I just looked on Microsoft Store for like ambient sound. So this is like the first thing I downloaded. It's literally called Ambiance. And or ambience, however you say it, who cares. But and I'll just put on sounds. My personal favorites, if anyone cares, are the train sound. I really like that. Rain, light rain, and probably also the distant thunderstorm. But I'll even put on the fan. I've put on the clock sound before. I feel like that would stress some people out, but I honestly really liked it. I don't know why, it made me feel like I was in a classroom or something. But yeah, the sound is really important. I have, you know, a Spotify playlist as well. Maybe I'll put that in the description or something. But I do have my own, like, little focus playlist, and, you know, I just put my favorite music in there. It's all, there's no lyrics or anything to this music. And, yeah, this is just music that I personally like, but you can pretty much do anything. I wouldn't do anything too higher energy, though. It can just distract you. The other one I use is this one, for sure. I really like this one, too. The Fruitiger Arrow vibe I really like. So maybe I'll put these playlists in the description if you want to listen to them or not, and just make your own. But I think music is pretty important too. I actually don't listen to music every time anymore. I probably use this more than music, but you know, whatever works best, I guess. Okay, so now I'll get into the actual, like, method of studying, and I guess for this I will go ahead and talk about the notes that I take and what is important about note taking. So for me, usually I will go ahead and read a slideshow. Like on this other monitor, I'll just straight up go through the slideshow, and I'll literally read through the slideshow and note down what is, you know, most important, or what I find most important. And for notes, the biggest thing that I would keep in mind is that your notes need to be easy to navigate and easy to read. If your notes are not easy to navigate and easy to read, you can't study, you can't learn. So if you have really bad handwriting, you either need to fix that or shoot, like type your notes or something. But your notes need to be easy to look back on. And me personally, mine are, for me, I'm not like trying to brag on my notes or anything, but I try to use highlighter, different colors, you know, stuff like that. My handwriting is legible, to say the least, so yeah, pretty much that's what I can say about that. When it comes to what to write down, because I also hear people talk about they don't know what to write down. If there's an assignment that goes along with what you need to read or something, I'm not gonna lie, I would do the assignment while you take notes. That'll help you know exactly what you need to write down because it's in the assignment. If there's no time limit, that's the easiest thing I can recommend. With those, like, I'm sure every college student knows exactly what I'm talking about, but with those stupid, like, McGraw-Hill assignments, I despise those, actually. They're terrible. But usually on the long assignment, like the chapter assignments, I'll usually take my notes while I do that assignment, and I'll just read through the highlighted portions of the textbook for each question, and I'll write what is highlighted or what is important from the highlighted portions. And that kind of helps you know exactly what to take from, what to write about. But yeah, you should be able to use, like, you know, your basic context clues. And I know everybody hates AI so much, but it's honestly really helpful for taking notes. I'll usually use that for taking my math notes. To be honest, the textbook for my math class kind of sucks, so I'll often use that as a tool, you know, to take notes there. But there's tons of ways to figure out exactly what to write. If you really, really, really don't know, just like ask a classmate or something, but I'm sorry, there's no way you're that clueless though. Like, you can know what to write, you just have to think about it for like more than a couple of seconds. But yeah, I mean, use highlighters, so I always do, even on paper. Maybe seeing my paper notes will help, but here's a piece of paper. This was for a finance class. So yeah, on paper, I'll usually write with blue pen. That seems to help with memory, apparently. You just remember things that are written in blue better, I guess. But honestly, when I was in high school, I would use like multiple colors every different day for every different class. These days, though, I do prefer just writing in blue pen. I don't know what it is, but I really like blue pen. So, yeah, that's what my notes look like for this. But, yeah, just make sure they're easy to read, easy to look back on. I like sticky notes sometimes. I'll put sticky notes over my notes for certain things, or like this and that. For digital notes, I don't really do anything similar to that. You know, I just kind of write until, you know, I just kind of keep writing. But there's tons of different ways and methods. I don't have the most fancy notes ever, but they are really easy to look back on and really easy to study. And I think that's the most important thing for notes. Like, just make sure that you can get around your own notes. If they look crazy to someone else, that's fine. If someone else can't read them, that's fine too, as long as you can read them. But you need to be conscious of that while you write the notes. You need to be thinking about, oh, I have to look back at this later on. I have to flip through this later on. I want these things to be easy to find. I want this stuff to stand out, you know. Think about that actively as you take your notes and as you're studying, you know. I guess is just technique wise. Me personally, when I am studying, I usually do Pomodoro like most other people. I prefer to do 50 minutes of studying and a 10-minute break. That's what, you know, seems to work best for me. I can't really do short periods of time because it takes me a little while to kind of get fully focused. And if I were to do, you know, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I probably would not be that focused at all for that entire time. I usually get really focused around the 30-minute mark anyway. So I want to be able to work past that to actually, you know, get the right amount of stuff done. So yeah, but that's what I do. If you operate better with an even longer amount of time or an even shorter amount of time, definitely do that. If you're just starting to study and you don't know what to do, just try a bunch of different things. I would start on the low side. That's me personally. Yeah, I would definitely start on the lower side. Like, if you're never studied before, you don't know what the hell to do, I would just go for like 25 minutes of studying and a 5-minute break. Just to get used to it, just to get used to that structure. Or you can just sit down and do as much as you can and then stop randomly. Different things definitely work for different people, and I wouldn't let things that other people say or do really influence you too much as I make a how I study video, but it's true. Individuals are individuals. We are all different. We operate differently. So with that statement said, I will mention that my consistency is not super crazy good, and it's mostly because I want to get my work done properly. So even though it would be really nice to sit down and study for 5 hours every day, you know, 5 days a week, sometimes you're not going to be focused as well. I won't say you're not going to feel like it, because to be honest, I never feel like it. But there's a difference between feeling like you want to study and just not being able to focus at that moment in time. And if you ever feel like you're sitting there and you're wasting your time, I would just stop. I would get up and I would stop completely. I do that all the time. I'll come back later. Sometimes I just won't even study or do anything that day. And that, to me, is way more worthwhile than sitting around for hours getting next to nothing done when you could be doing something else with your life. That is probably the biggest tip that I have that I feel like a lot of people don't mention or talk about. Don't be afraid to just set it all down. So, I think that's gonna be it though.